words, and today we will discuss LeetCode BiWeekly Contest 94 question reward top case students. So here we are given mainly two string arrays, that is the positive feedback and the negative feedback, that contain words that belongs to positive feedback and words that belongs to negative feedback. Further, then we are given another string of array, that is report. Sorry, string of vector, that is report. So report contains a combination of words or sentences for each student, and we are asked and further for each positive feedback we have to increase the point for a particular student by 3, and for the negative word we have to decrease the point by 1. Okay, and for each feedback is linked with a student or the student ID given in another vector of student ID, and at the end we need to return k student with the topmost score, and let's say if two students have the same score, then we would prefer the student with lower ID and give him a higher rank. So I hope you got it, the question. So let me just summarize it. We are given one positive feedback string of vector, the negative feedback vector string, and reports strings where each report is linked with a student ID present in this vector, and we need to return k students with maximum scores in non-increasing or decreasing order. Okay, so let's now take a look at the first sample test case. So here these are the words like smart, brilliant, studious that are referred as positive feedback, and word like not is referred to as negative feedback. Now for this is the feedback or report of the student one that says this student is studious. So here this word studious belongs to the positive feedback here. So its score is +3 for the student 1. Okay. Now for the sentence 2 we have the student is smart. So smart also belongs to positive feedback. So its score is also +3. So here both the student have same score. So we arrange on the basis of their ID, that is for initially one then 2, so that such that the lower ID gets a higher rank when the both points are equal. Now let's take a look at another example. So these are the words for positive feedback, this is the word for negative feedback, and this is the feedback for the student 1. So it says the student is not studious. So not, that means -1, and studious, that is positive, that means +3. So the score for student with ID 1 is 2 points. Now for student 2 is the sentence is the student is smart. So smart belongs to positive feedback, and there is no other word for negative feedback. So the point for the student with ID 2 is 3 points. So here student 2 has more points than student 1. So we return that way, that 2 then 1. So in the decreasing order of the score. So I hope you got that point. What we are doing here is let's say there are we are given one positive feedback, positive. Let's say that has some words like A, B, C, D, E, F. So these are the words that are associated with the positive feedback. Then now we are also given some words that are associated with negative feedback like X, Y, Z. And for each student we are given a report. Let's say report is A, B, C, X, Y, then D, E, F, A, then X, Y, Z. So this type of reports we are given for each student, and once student underscore ID is given. So here let's say for this student is 1, then this student is 2, then 3. Okay, and we need to return k students with a maximum score. So let's assume k is 3 here. So for each student we will calculate the answer. So now what we would do is we will take one map, and for a map of string comma boolean. So what we would do is let's say if a word like for each report we will analyze like if the word is present in the map, if he is present, then what's its value. If the value is true, then we would add +3. If the value is false, then we would subtract 1 score. So that's why for each student we would process if the word is present in this map, and if it is present, then what is its value? Means it is true or false. So true means positive, false means negative. So this is one way of approaching this question. And at the end, we would store the score area. In the score, we would store its like score along with its ID, and we would sort it. What we would do? Sort in a decreasing order. And we would take case student, and from this score we would take case students and return this. So this would be our output. So this we would do. So mainly we are using here a map data structure and processing each word if it is present in the map, and scoring the output as +3 or -1. And at the end we are sorting the score array, and again we take case students from them with a maximum score and return it as our output. So I hope you got the logic behind the question and how we would solve them. So now let's move on to the coding part. Okay. So the first thing is we need to map each word of a positive feedback and the negative feedback in our unordered map with either true or false value. Unordered map of string and boolean. Let me name it as feed. Now for each word in positive feedback, we would just mark as true, and for each word for negative feedback we would mark as false. Okay, now we would make another vector of pair to store the score along with its ID. So here we would store score of student, comma, its ID. So let us now process the report. Let me store the report in a string s, and yeah, the all the words in the reports are separated by this space. So whenever we encountered a space, we will process the previous word. So let me take another temp variable, an empty string. So we would store the word here in this temp, and let me just add the empty space at the end of the string so that we can process the last word of the report, right? Now we would just traverse the string, and if we encounter, let's say, if s of j equals to some space, then we would process the word storing temp, as we would just add the characters inside our temp variable. Now if that word is present in our feed, then we would process it. Like if it is present, then we would process it. So let me take another variable, int. Let me name it as result. So now if feed of temp equal to true, then I would add +3 points inside the result, and in the else condition I would just subtract -1 point. Okay, so this is simple logic here, and in the end we would simply push the score of the student along with its ID. So the store is we have storing result RES, and the ID is in this vector student underscore ID. So we will grab the ID from there, ID of ith student. Okay, now we would sort it, score dot begin and score dot end. But one thing to note here is we have to sort this score vector in the reverse order, and in a case if two students have the same score, we need to prioritize the student with lower ID. So for that, let me write one boolean function that will be used to compare the true scores or the pair of two scores. First, a pair of int and int, that is pair B. Let's say if their scores are not equal, then we would simply return whose score is greater. And if the scores are equal, then this return condition would be executed. Then we would return based on their ID. So whose ID is less, that would be prioritized. Okay, now everything is done. Now we have to store the k students with a maximum score. So let me take factor int answer. Alright, yes, we need to return only the IDs of that student. So for int I equal to 0 for the k students, so I till k, and we would simply push answer dot push back score of I dot second, because the second variable is the ID, and then here it would be push back. And now we will simply return this answer variable. So now everything looks correct. Now let me try to run this. Okay, there is something wrong. Okay, 1 2 first. Okay, yeah, here we need to add this compare function. We need to provide inside this. Okay, one another thing to note here is whenever if we hit this empty space, we will again free up our temp to enter string so that we can process the next word. Yeah, now both the test cases passed. Now let me try to submit this. Okay, so it got accepted. So I hope you understood the question, that we just try to map the words according to the type of feedback, like positive or negative. Then we just process the report and find the words that are positive or negative and added it. The computer did the result, and finally we sorted them according to the given condition, and we return the topmost k student with the maximum score. So that's all for this video. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you have any doubts, let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.